Hey guys, I think I figured this out. My whole kick about privacy and all the stuff I've been buying that kind of follows a weird vein, I think I figured out why I'm doing it and why it's important. Um, Privacy was just kind of this idea of something that, like, well, privacy is the thing that we want, but if we give it up for convenience, it's okay. And I'm not talking about like a weird libertarian, U.S. Maguns argument. I'm talking about the privacy of your own thoughts, the privacy of being able to think thoughts and talk out loud, to think out loud, to talk with people about things. I'm sure you're pretty aware that there's been a lot of internet censorship and stuff like that, and I think it really comes back to 1984. I read that book pretty late, actually, and my takeaway from it was a bit different. I worked in tech security. My background is in being a professional hacker, and all of the security stuff always interested me, anyways. So when I read 1984, there was something in it that I didn't quite understand, and I think I figured it out. The thing that was really scary about it was that by identifying the thing was at the end of 1984. Um, my thought was that that world was perfect, and by perfect I mean it is a perfect machine. It is a perfect loop. It takes all the parts, the base parts of humanity, the tribalism, the anger, the rage, um, all that stuff, and it feeds all of them in just the right amounts so that it will always go in a circle of the people who are in charge of what goes into that circle and what goes into those people. That's why they had to listen to everything. They had to listen to everything because they didn't need to be everywhere, they needed to be in here. And when I say in here, I mean inside your thoughts, to the point that they knew more about you than you knew about you. And unfortunately, I'm pretty sure we're at that position right now. But who? Is it Big Brother? Is it whatever? It's these. It's. I'm a capitalist. I'm not going to blame capitalism. I'm not going to blame corporations. It's anyone selling your personal information. And I don't think it's something that happened intentionally. I could be wrong. But selling your personal information to the point that they have enough that they can build an actual psychographical model of you and predict your actions given a certain amount of inputs. Um, I said in another talk like this that we didn't think that men were machines that you could turn cranks on and receive. It's just unnerving, and receive a reliable output, but big data modeling has changed that. I think that they can predict what you're going to do before you've done it, and that they can create ideas in your head given a certain types of inputs. So there was a bunch of stuff. I really couldn't put it all together, so I decided to just kind of bring these out as props because I don't want to write out like scripts or anything, and like highlights are weird, so I think this will be a good way of doing it. The idea that if someone is sufficiently inside your head or knows sufficiently enough information about you, and they can control the inputs, they can control your outputs, they can control your actions, they can control what you do, they can control how you do it, they can control why you do it or why you think you're doing it. Again, I don't think this was intentional. And I actually don't think that I don't think that there's like an overarching big brother that's controlling all this. I really think that all of this data right now is so spread out that they're not even sure they can do this yet. But give it one hostile takeover of Google, or one like Soviet style breakup of Google where it just starts selling, you know, all the data that it has on individuals for like $20 on eBay. Um, that's scary. because I don't think we really realize how much information gets put into these things. This is actually a broken phone. The screen's broken, but it still had parts, and I'm kind of an electronics guy, so I bought it as spare parts for my working phone. But the working phone died, and now this is just kind of hanging out. But it's neat hardware, and it works pretty well. So it was just sitting in a drawer somewhere. Well, when I started getting into all this privacy stuff and these separate computing devices, I realized that this had some value still, possibly. So these phones, the idea, I suppose I should actually hold it up here where I intended to do. These phones are designed to be excellent. They're great hardware. They're designed to work well. They're designed to do lots of things, and they're designed by Google. Not the hardware, but the software that's inside is designed by Google. And when I say that that software has not been fully vetted, I want you to understand what that means. That means when things are open source, it means that you can read all the code that it does and decide for yourself if, like, well, I don't like this code, and what's this code, and what's this code doing right here? Android is that. Google made Android and just gave it to the world for free. And the trick about capitalists is if they start doing something for free, it's because they figured out another way to make money off of it. Corporations don't make money by giving stuff away for free unless they get something out of it. So we have this amazing device, and it is amazing, and it is really cool, and I want one of these. I want the hardware and the power and how cool and useful it is. But it comes with a bit of baggage, because this is, I am quite positive, in one way or another, reporting information, pretty much everything, right back to the Google, or the Facebook if you install the apps on here, or the Twitter, or the whatever. Anything. It is made to support corporate interests, and if you don't know, if you question if that's the case, go into your app's controls, whatever the app is, and say, for this app, I want it to have no data access if I'm on cell network. So if you're on a cellular network, it can't use data. And that's you being in control of your phone, right? And then try to change it so it has no data access if you're on Wi-Fi, or so it has no data access at all. You can't do it. And the reason you can't do it is because the people making apps for this are making it for this because they know that they'll be able to send ads to you and they'll be able to get data back from you through it. This is a tool for spying on you. This is a tool for collecting more information on you. This is a tool for corporations to use against you. And when I say against you is it's not like huge multinational corporations are trying to squash little Troy Fletcher. I just mean that they're trying to use you. And I originally thought that this was for the purposes of opening your wallet. And in a capitalist society and in America, this is king. If you can open that wallet, like, this is what the corporations are going after. They want your money. And it's a bit deeper than that, because the amount of information and the amount of money that's going into advertising, which ostensibly advertising is just like, hey, look at that billboard. Like, that product, it made a bit of an impression on me. Like, maybe I'll buy it, maybe I won't. And I think it's called brand marketing, but the efficiency of brand marketing is highly questionable. It's not really, if you look at enough Coke ads, that's just say, if you look at Coke enough and you see Coke everywhere, like, eventually you might be like, maybe I'll try this Coke thing out. That seems like a minimal return. So the question is, what else can this be doing? What else can this technology be doing to cause you to really send money, to be controlled, to be manipulated to the point that this is really worth enough money to give it away for free? So I don't think that it has to do with advertising, and I don't think that it has to do with you opening your wallet, except in cases, I think, of if you're going to open your wallet and they know you're going to spend money, then they can direct you, Mr. Corporation, do you want them buying your product or they want you buying the other product? If you're going to have a baby, they know you're going to spend X amount of dollars, thousands of dollars on products. And whose products will those be? So that's valuable. That's not like, hey, buy this widget. It's neat. You probably don't need it, but you'll like it. Completely different level of marketing. Where things start to get weird is where big data comes in. Big data and doing these genetic algorithms and neural net algorithms. They're basically computers writing code for computers so that it works somehow. And for the most part, we don't really understand, especially in the neural net level, the level of complexity that goes into that stuff. It's just trying stuff, and then the results are good, so people are like, yeah, sure, we'll do it. But there isn't necessarily an understanding as to why. And I think that's a problem. Again, I don't think this is evil. I think it became something that can be evil, and if someone that is evil is in charge of it, it's game over, man. Game over. Nuke it from orbit. Does it darken the skies? Where was I? Right. So they made this. Right. So they wound up with too many data, too much data. So they wound up with too much data. So they're collecting all of this information, and they've got all of this information on you. They've got metadata on whatever I'm saying. Not right now. This is a special phone. And you can too. I'll tell you how to do this. But they've got metadata on everything that you're saying and doing, and all of the searches that you're doing. You know, Google is the portal to the internet, and that means that it can control, and it wants to control, everything, all of the inputs, so that it can control your outputs. Same thing with Facebook. You know, other social apps that really, really overstep that boundary to the point of being creepy. So they wound up with too much data. So what do? Well, we make computers that write code for computers to figure out how to do this stuff. And that's, you know, the more advanced algorithms. Simple algorithms are very, you know, anyone can understand them, really. You can write one out on a piece of paper. But the more complex stuff, the stuff that's dealing with terabytes and petabytes of information, not so much. There isn't really an understanding as to how that's working. And I think this is what we're seeing with Google, with YouTube. It's like, well, YouTube's evil because it's doing this and that and the other. I think YouTube's more like really worried about its algorithms because it has no control over them. And I don't mean they're like, you know, robots running out of control. I mean that they're like, they don't know how this works and they can't do it themselves. There's literally not enough manpower, probably in the entire world, to go over this amount of data. So they have to write programs that write programs that write programs that figure this stuff out for them. And someone's in there going, this isn't working, we need to change it, what do we do? And they're freaking out. That's my speculation. So they get this information and they start doing these things, and these algorithms, the computers start making decisions, right? And then the decisions are good, and then, whoa, what was that? Like, that was weird. And then it's like, I'm not talking about Skynet here, okay? Just heading you off at the pass. It's like, whoa, that's really weird. We need to figure that out. And then they tweak things, and then a whole bunch of other things change. And this is just programmer stuff. This is what you do when you actually write code. It's like, oh, I'll just tweak this one thing. One little bug fixed, and 20 little bugs added. Okay. Like, you spend a lot of time trying to figure out this stuff for code that you wrote, and you have a computer that's writing it now. So it's like, eh. So I think they're kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place on this genetics, the genetic algorithm stuff. Again, just speculation. So they write these algorithms, right? And they're able to track this stuff. And yes, they are profitable. They're figuring stuff out. We're not really sure how they're figuring stuff out, but they are figuring stuff out. So you wind up being able to collect all this information and get to a point where you can say, hey, I want Troy Fletcher to buy, you know, an Arduino Nano within 6 months. And they could probably make that happen. Not by putting an ad and saying, hey, Troy, we want you to buy this. By subtlety. By that inception idea. They're getting in here. And that's what they did with Winston. With Winston in 1984, they were in here. So they were able to control, by fear or by coercion or by just inputs, they were able to control what Winston did. The goal is to turn... Well, the goal of 1984 was not just to listen to everything. The goal of 1984 was to know everything. This is probably too long, but I haven't even gotten to the props here. So, to know everything. And to know everything is to be able to do anything. Information is power. This is my laptop top from my hacker days. And this was one of the first stickers that went onto it. Information is power. Scientia potentia est is Latin for it. And information is more important than power. Information is more important. Information is power. It gives you the ability to make the decisions before the other person can, or to make decisions that make the other person make your decisions, make your outcome, do the things that you want them to do. So why is this so important? And why is it, well, if that isn't readily obvious, like information is power, and we have these companies that have, the most information, so much information they don't even know what to do with it. And again, I don't think they're evil. I think they have this monster, and they're like, well, he makes tea really well. I don't want to get rid of him because he takes out the trash. You don't need a 20-foot tall monster that's 18 feet, 8 feet wide to take out the trash. It's overkill. It's dangerous. What happens if you lose control of it? And it's like, he saves me a bit of money. So when that monster goes crazy, or when someone else gets in charge of that monster, that's going to be really dangerous. And that's why I've been on this weird kick of trying to get my private information off, my thoughts off. And that's where this stuff kind of comes in. So I'll try to start here. This is a Samsung regular flagship phone. It has Samsung software on it. It has Google Heart software on it. It does all kinds of things, but it also reports back to the mothership. I don't know what this does. I don't know what this does for me. This is amazing. This is truly powerful hardware. And I would love to have this in my complete control. But I actually don't. And you actually don't either. So if I buy this is just anything really. It's a regular device. It's a set of electronic components. Why am I using that camera? It's a set of electronic components put together to do one purpose. It does. It's a multimeter. It's used in electronics, and you can do lots of stuff with it. But when I owned this, when I purchased this from the store, Radio Shack or whoever made it was like, here you go. This is yours now. And I could do with it whatever I want. I could smash it. I could explode it. I could shoot it with a gun. I don't know why things are so violent, but I can do anything I want with this. Because it's mine. Because I own it. I own all of it. Not so with this. Believe it or not, you don't actually own your phone. You own a license to use your phone. And that's in the end user license agreement and all that stuff. You're allowed to use this phone for what the manufacturers and the software that's on it allows you to use it for. Period. And this is called intellectual property. This is just property. This is a piece of hardware. This is property. Technically, there's some caveats to that. But this has more intellectual property in it than regular hard property in it. So you don't own this phone. I really don't want to say it owns you, but I gotta. You don't own this phone. It owns you. Get the lighting right. There we go. But seriously, the code that's in here, some of it you're not allowed to access. You're not allowed to look at it and see what it does. And if you do, you will go to jail. And if you get into some of these and you take some of the code out of it and you share it and say, what is this doing? You can go to jail. I'm not kidding. It's a DMCA. You're not allowed to look at these things, at some of this. It is proprietary. It is secret. So what's it doing? Well, just let your imagination run wild on that. The other thing is, so this phone, I told you this phone was special, right? So since it was broken, it was just kind of a piece of hardware, and it wouldn't really do much for me because I didn't want it to do much against me. while I was getting on this kind of privacy kick, I was like, well, why don't I just go ahead and change this? Like, I'm a networking guy, so I know all the ins and outs of how that stuff works. And I know that this still needs to be able to talk through normal channels, hopefully, normal channels to, it has to get to the mothership in order for it to send more information. Now, back in the days of Google not owning the internet, it was really easy to be like, here's your Yahoo phone. Let's go ahead and turn on this Yahoo phone and let's look at the network traffic. And the network traffic says, why are you talking to Yahoo? Why are you constantly sending data to Yahoo? We can't do that. Why are you doing this? Like, that's really obvious. But for Google, with the Google phone, with the phone that runs Google code, and Google everywhere on the internet, you go to some other website.com, and yeah, there's probably Google code on it. And you should expect there's going to be stuff going to Google. And so when you turn on this phone, it's talking to Google. And you're just sitting there going, well, yeah, obviously, it's a Google phone. I'm a website. The website has a Google search on it. The website has this on it. The website has Google Ads on it. It's just talking to Google like normal. Maybe, maybe not. I think these have been trickling data out from us for a long time. Probably since they started. Since smartphones started existing. And that trickle to Google, because Google is everywhere on the internet, was unnoticed. So, my hope at least was that it trickles out based on certain connections. It has to be cell network connected, or it has to be Wi-Fi enabled. So this phone has no service, no cell service. Probably still talks to the tower and says, hey, I exist. But as far as Wi-Fi goes, like, if this didn't have Wi-Fi, how useful would it be? Well, not sure. Depends on what you're going to use it for. So you take you go into your internet router, and with a little bit of learning and research, you can turn this into a child's device, a parental controlled device. And when it's a child's device, you can decide what websites it has access to, or whether it has access to any websites at all. So you give it access to one website, mashthekeyboard.xyz, and that's it. Some website that doesn't exist. So now this phone can be on my home network, but it can't get out. So that's kind of interesting. I've used it for a few things. It's actually kind of useful. It's kind of nice to have around. And if I carry it from place to place, the cell antenna, which I haven't pulled out yet, but the cell antenna probably registers that it's trying to connect, but it can't get any service. But I'm pretty sure it's not sending data. I don't know that Sprint would allow a phone or allow a Google to send data across its network, even if it's not a registered device. Although that would be quite a business deal. All those old phones not connected to any service, and just have power somewhere, just listening, collecting data, collecting GPS information. Yeah, I should probably pull the GPS antenna out of this too. But the goal of this was to get something that I can use to use this cool technology that I really want to use, that is really helpful to mankind, and use it so that it doesn't hurt me. So, paper. This is paper, and as long as I don't show you what's in it, you'll be able to see that it has my thoughts in it, and my thoughts are in it, and if anyone wants to look at them, they're going to have to come into my house, and leaf through it, and that requires a lot of effort. It requires at least paying someone to do it, and that's hard to do in this day and age. We talk about, like, Neil's security days. It was like, oh, you got a sticky note of your password stuck to the monitor. Honestly, at this point, a sticky note of your password stuck to the monitor is probably more secure than all of these password monitoring services. Yeah, so this. If you haven't read it, it's about burning books. And while I'm talking about controlling people by controlling this their thoughts, what they're allowed to think, or what they're being guided to think. We can also talk about who's being punished for thinking certain thoughts. Remember how I said paper? Someone has to come in here and read this book, open it up, and look at it, and use their eyeballs to decipher my chicken scratch to know what my thoughts are. Not so with this. This takes all my thoughts and correlates them and makes them very readable and understandable to a computer, scans them for metadata, and sends them off in a nice little packet to Google, to Microsoft, to Apple, to whomever is in control of these portals to the internet, portals to the world, the World Wide Web. There are millions of Facebook users who don't know they're using don't know they're using the internet. They think they're using Facebook. They don't understand the technology because they haven't been provided to it, or they haven't been told how it works. Information is power, but knowledge is also power. So, burning books, right? You buy a book. If someone wants to burn this book, they got to come to my house. They got to pound on the door. They got to kick it down. They got to take a few shots. And then eventually they'll probably get through, or they'll burn down the whole house, but they'll get this book. By God, they'll burn this book. This is a Kindle. It's an e-reader. Never before has it been so easy to burn 1 billion books. Again, I'm not saying that they're doing this. I'm not saying that they're evil. I'm just saying that you've got this 8-story tall monster, and you're like, what do we do with it? It stopped making tea. It stopped taking out the trash. It's looking at us really funny. Again, I don't think it's happening now, although there was a case of a copyright dispute years ago with Amazon, and they pulled the book, and they pulled it from the Kindles. They pulled it from people's Kindle library. Hard to pull this, as much as I hate paper media. Oh, wow. Oh, there it is. As much as I hate paper media, it's hard to get this. It is trivial to get this. There's the trash being taken out. So, the advantage of paper. This is not indexed. It's hard to use, but you know what would be nice to index? This technology. These computers can be used to help mankind without spying on us, without feeding our data into Big Brother. And that's where we get into this weird little niche of computing, where I've got this, it's got eraser marks all over it. I've got this piece of old tech. It's a little Linux computer, and it's a handheld Linux computer. It has Wi-Fi, and that's it. It's called a Pocket Chip. Hard to get right now, but it's open source, or as open source as it can be. So when I run Microsoft Windows, when I run Mac OS, when I run Android OS, these companies are placing themselves as the portal through which I must travel to get to this technology that makes my life so much better. And I don't know what that technology is doing. I don't know what it's keeping track of. I don't know when it's keeping track of it. I don't even know why it's keeping track of it. So, there is hope in open source, and there's hope in simplicity. So, this is, like I said, a little Linux computer. And Linux is a lot more user-friendly than it used to be, believe me. But the potential for using, like I said, this is not indexed. This is hard to search through. But what isn't hard to search through is computers, files that computers are made to search through. The old type computers, the old style, old school stuff. before they had this great idea to turn technology against us. Yeah, technology against us. Yeah, we'll talk about that. So I know what this thing does, and I know what it doesn't do. This doesn't have a microphone on it. It doesn't because if they could squeeze it on, they would. It doesn't because this is the computer. Oh, it's kind of hard to get off. There we go. Pretty sure I just broke something. This is the computer. Right here. Pocket chip. This is just a host. It's just a screen. It's just a keyboard. It just connects to it. But this is the computer. And there's no microphone on it. Because if they could squeeze it on, they would. This was also designed in a country where the NSA doesn't really have a lot of influence, potentially, at least, I hope. So they can't really, and that's just touching on government stuff. This has all so far just been about corporate stuff. And would you like to know who the biggest buyer of demographic data is? It's the government. At least last I checked. I don't know, it seems like at this point the government might be becoming irrelevant. Because who needs a government when you control the people? And by control the people, I mean know all of their thoughts to the point that you can predict all of their actions, what they will do and what they won't do, and guide them to do what you want them to do. But I know what's happening on this. And what's even better is it has kind of limited battery life. So like when it's dead, I know it's dead. Similarly, Raspberry Pi computer, single board computer. This is an entire computer. You can connect your mouse, keyboard, a monitor to it, some power, like a cell phone charger power, and you have a full computer. It runs Linux as well. Pretty friendly version of Linux. I'd recommend it. This is $5. $5. The bigger ones are like $30. And you gotta buy them with a kit, so they're like $50. Who cares? Buy a computer that you know isn't spying on you. At least you know as much as you can know that it isn't spying on you. $30. Probably spend that on fast food in like a month. But at least I know that the limitations of this hardware are such that, like, it would be hard to do that. It would be difficult to make this spy on me. Because I would see it. I would see the traffic. I would see the single core CPU go boom, 100% peg, as soon as it started doing extra stuff. But this, it always bugged me. It always I'm not being cute. It literally, it bothered me. It didn't bug me. Listen to me. It bugged me that the hardware race was getting faster and faster and faster. And the question why was like, video games. It's like, I'm playing Bejeweled on here with 3D acceleration. What the hell are you talking about? Well, it's faster. That's better, right? Well, it turns out it needs to be faster so that it can do more stuff for other people. It doesn't need to be more faster so it can do stuff for you. So like I said, the old tech. So why are they doing this now? Why are they pushing on the individuals? Why are these corporations now starting to kind of crack down on the wrong ideas? And I think it's because the internet and this technology has empowered people to the point that it's uncomfortable. Like in the 1984 world, this is my keyboard, my custom keyboard. I make custom ergonomic keyboards, and it's all mechanical and everything. This is a circuit board, like a commercial circuit board, and I got it printed with free software, free open source software that I learned how to use on YouTube and on GitHub, which are both multinational corporation owned conglomerates. But I learned that information. Information is power. Knowledge is power. I learned that, and with it I was able to design this commercial product that I can sell to people all over the world and have been selling to people all over the world. And that's really empowering. Like, I can go on YouTube and I can learn how to do pretty much anything. And There's this comic. I have it on my phone, my cell phone, my working cell phone that's upstairs in a drawer now. And I didn't want to bring it down, and I couldn't look it up easily, so I'll just describe it to you. I'll link it in the description when I find it if it's still up. But it's a 3-panel comic of a guy reaching into his car, and his friend is standing in there, reaching into the hood of a car with a wrench, and his friend is standing there, and he says, "What are you doing?" And he says, "Well, I'm learning how to fix my own car." And the guy says, "Well, isn't that dangerous?" And the next panel, the guy says, "Hardly. I'm empowering myself as a citizen and as an individual. Pretty soon, I'll be capable of anything." And the last panel is like 2 FBI guys looking at a surveillance video of this guy talking, and the FBI guy says, "This man is dangerous." Empowered individuals are dangerous to the people who want to control them. Free thought is dangerous to the people who want to control free thought. Technology that cannot be owned by someone else, that isn't constantly reporting data back on you for whoever their multinational or even corporate or even governmental powers are. We're talking about companies that are getting involved with countries that have severe human rights violations. What do you think that government is going to ask when it comes time to, liquidate the kulaks, to kill all the insert ethnic group or religious group here? What do you think is going to happen? Well, I mean, what's going to happen. The other thing about this is, I can learn how to control these very simple microcontrollers. It's very simple technology. I can leverage these very simple bits of technology to do the cool stuff, the important stuff at least, that this thing does in the palm of my hand in a way that I can control it. That's very important. I want to use the technology, but I don't want to know that the technology is using me back by subtly redirecting my ideas, subtly redirecting my thoughts, or even disappearing stuff that I'm quite sure was in my history, and I'm pretty sure I read that somewhere, but poof, who knows? So there's hope in this simple technology. There's hope in the ability to do this, and the danger is that people are becoming too empowered, too powerful to do these things. This is I'm gonna say it. This is PewDiePie versus T-Series. All right. Subscribe to PewDiePie. This is the question of whether or not YouTube, that is how YouTube was founded. It was created to be the voice of you, the people. And now it's like, well, the corporate overlords have decided that they don't want to advertise on this. And I don't fault Google for it. I don't know how they spend billions of dollars on bandwidth just giving stuff away. I'm glad they do. Like I said, I don't think they're evil. I just think that they have this gigantic monster that they've created. And they're like, he needs food, and we've run out of money. Can he do work for other people? It's horrifying. So the question is, again, not what Google might do, but what the next people who own Google might do. What the evil people at Facebook, the evil people who take over Facebook might do. Or the evil governments that pay Facebook, or pay Google, or pay Microsoft, or pay whomever to control the thoughts of the people. And the thing that really got me about 1984, like I said, it was that perfect loop. It touched all the important trigger points, and it got, by this level of input, it received exactly the output that it wanted. And it wasn't that the future was a boot stepping on a face forever. It was that the future was a boot stepping on a face, and the face smiling forever. The face going, "Thank you, boot. Thank you." Because all the right buttons were pushed. And the face thought that the boot was necessary. That's what's really scary. So, like I said, all that big data. So there's another little wrinkle to this. There's a couple wrinkles, actually. The Internet of Things. So this is a a network-controlled outlet. You can turn it on and off with an app on your phone. And I don't want to install apps on my phone, because when I install an app on my phone, it gives that corporation the right to collect information on me and send it off to whomever and sell it. So, went online, poked around a little bit, and guess what? This thing's pretty insecure. And by insecure, I mean like, network-wise, software-wise, the front door is not locked. So I can just walk right in. There are limits, but everything is hackable. Everything is hackable. And as we get into this age of the Internet of Things, where we're talking about like our dryer and our refrigerator are going to be, connected to the internet and have software and an operating system that complicates things, like computers are making those decisions and computers are required to run all these things. Speaking as someone who is a hacker and someone who is a programmer and knows how historically all this stuff works, everything crashes, everything breaks down, and if it doesn't break down, it will be found to be insecure. If it lives long enough, it will be found to be insecure. So, like, this phone, that's part of why the phones there's a lot of rotation on the phones. You buy a new phone probably every few years just to keep up, right? Keep up? Keep up with what? But you wind up with new hardware, and there's new software, and bugs get fixed, and things get patched, and all kinds of stuff like that. But there's a lot of dead hardware, and this is actually one of those pieces of dead hardware. The company is gone, but this computer is still useful, so I can still use it. But if there are insecurities, I need to make sure I manage them myself, because if I don't, then it's just insecure. I don't know if people remember the 90s with the worms, the cyber worms that infected huge swaths of the internet. Imagine infecting 1 trillion things on the internet, on this Internet of Things, because this is a Linux computer. The software that is in here is the same as the software that is in here, is the same as the software that's in this computer that's recording this. And this company, whatever this company is, and this company, whatever this company is, will someday disappear. And that's part of why you keep winding up having to upgrade your computer. Because they can't maintain patches, they can't promise the security of the really old stuff. So what happens when your refrigerator, your smart refrigerator gets, the company goes belly up, and you can't you can't install updates on your refrigerator. The refrigerator, the coil works, the light works, the power works, but the computer system that's in it, the software, the ones and zeros don't work, and you can't fix it. Or worse, it keeps working, and it's just insecure. Then we talk about your refrigerator is spying on you, but it's only spying on you because a hacker is doing it. A worm is doing it. Someone else is doing it. This is beyond the company actually listening to your voice and collecting metadata on you and selling that information on you, because, that's how you make money these days. Beyond that, your refrigerator can be controlled by malicious people. Why? Why? So this smart plug may at some point become horrendously insecure and be spying on me. Although I don't know if this has a microphone on it. Like this, I know there's no microphone on it, because if they could squeeze a microphone on it, they would, or could have. So we find ourselves in this strange situation, and this is DEF CON. It's a convention, a hackers convention. It's from a while back, 13. I'm old. What do you want? It's a bunch of hackers getting together, talking about how insecure all this stuff is. And just interesting ideas with technology. Because the technology adoption rate got so high that companies that were building computer systems into their cars, which most of them do nowadays, didn't have any eye for security, because they said, well, we'll just kind of hide it. Then they won't be able to find it. Well, hackers find stuff. That's what they do. They're curious. They figure stuff out. And when they do, and when they announce these bugs, the companies just kind of went, no thanks. Like, don't worry about it. This car will be obsoleted later. Do you want to buy a car like you buy these phones? Do you want to buy a refrigerator like you buy these phones? Well, it's insecure. Your refrigerator is dangerous. It could be listening to you because it's so insecure. You need to upgrade to Refrigerator XP. The Refrigerator XP has new and exciting features. It also supports the latest chip architecture set that you haven't heard of. So we have all this enabling power, all this enabling technology. It's making us stronger and better, and able to do more work and figure things out and be more productive and talk to each other on the internet across the world. And that Wild West is coming to an end because people are making portals. They want people to go through their portal. And if you can't go through their portal, well... And I was talking about book burning. We're not even burning books at this point. At this point, we're burning people. A society that burns books will soon burn people. We're actually almost like doing witch burnings at this point. I mean, not literally. Alex Jones, love him or hate him, probably hate him, he was burned at the stake to appease the gods. Hey, you know that portal you have? We're closing it. You're not allowed to go through it anymore. I don't know. Eventually, they'll do like face recognition on Alex Jones, so he won't be able to own a phone. He won't be able to unlock it. They'll be like, Alex Jones detected. Exploding phone. Public enemy number one. And this is all politics. This is all just the cycle. Because today it's Alex Jones, and tomorrow it's someone else. Because tomorrow, someone's going to be in charge of that monster up there. And who knows what they're going to do with it. I got this through the mail. It didn't go through the inner tubes. It's 32 gigs. It was sent to me somewhat anonymously. And the data on it is mine. I know what's on here. As far as I know, only a couple other people know. And one of them is the person who put it on here. Keep your secrets. Keep your thoughts. While you're still allowed to. China's been instituting a social metric system whereby it shames you based on your actions, online and offline. To anyone who thinks that we're not doing that now, just ask Alex Jones. Ask the people who Patreon or PayPal decided that they're not going to serve anymore. They refuse their business. Well, it's just a private company. They can do whatever they want. Yeah. They're a private company. And they can do whatever they want. See, just change the tone a little bit. There's one prop I haven't touched yet. It's a reminder of things. It's a 50 caliber BMG round. It is I'm a shooter and a firearms instructor, so this is just kind of cool. I don't know if you can hear that. This is a reminder that we don't have to go here. There you go. There's a size comparison. We don't have to go here. The other thing is, Might. Might does not make right. Just because you're strong doesn't mean that you're correct or morally correct. But why go here when you don't have to? Why go here when you can stop people with the power of information, with the power of knowledge, with the power of being able to control the ads that people see, to control the thoughts that people think, to be able to create in people an idea that they will call their own that is not their own. This is pointless. Unless you're awake. Unless you're aware of all this. Unless you're aware that you are being controlled, manipulated, guided in ways that you're not aware of. I guess that's about all I had. Technology can enable us. It can empower us. We need to use technology that isn't spying on us, especially for our thoughts. My email for instance, SMS, text messages, those are gone. Like that's going through another portal. It must go through another portal. Email in particular has to pass through many portals before it gets somewhere. Expect that stuff is just gone. Use Chrome browser on your Chromium book, your Chromebook, to log into Gmail and send emails, and know that Google is triple, quadruple, double extra, double dog dare. It's monitoring you. Be aware of that. But also just cultivate a little bit of privacy. Look at the more simple computer programs that can help you organize, that can help you with your calendar, can help you with your communication, can help you keep track of things. Google is gonna Google, and it will Google until it crashes, which I think will be sooner rather than later, actually, for some reason. And I don't know who's gonna be in charge of that giant. That's scary. At least, it's only scary until I understand the truth that the giant loves me and that the giant has to do these things to keep me safe. And I love the giant. I love the giant. I'm serious about this Internet of Things thing. There are very few people talking about this. We're going to have computers everywhere, and they will be insecure, and they will be hacked, and people will control them. Not the original people, not even the corporate masters that made them. Random dudes. Talk about keyboard cowboys. That day is coming. And that is horrifying. Oh yeah, so I should probably, this is how I always have trouble ending these. This is like an hour long. How are you still here? Cultivate some privacy. Make some thoughts that are your own. Or buy something that's old. Buy an old Palm Pilot, Palm Visor, hand visor, PDA, and put thoughts into it. Buy an old camera. A regular camera. I don't even know if you can at this point. Buy a regular camera and take pictures on it that aren't being indexed, visually computer analyzed, tracked by location, tracked for time taken, tracked by GPS. Have a little bit of privacy. Because I think part of this control scheme is docility. It's being okay with all of this. It's that boot crushing your face and you smiling. Because this is okay. This is fine. I'm okay with the way things are currently unfolding. We have so much power right now. And we're just at the cusp of this transition. this change from, the Wild West of the internet, the totally empowered individual who can do pretty much anything, who can discover pretty much anything, who can build pretty much anything, just through this technology. And the learning outlets, YouTube, shutting stuff down. It's not advertiser friendly, Google, if Google says your website doesn't exist, by God, your website does not exist. Good luck. So, do this. Try to decentralize, Tor browser, stuff like that. There's ways to get away from this thing. And there's ways to not starve the giant, but put him on a diet. Because I don't think you want to know what that giant's going to do if you starve him. Alright. Talked long enough. Good luck.